Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Katie and today I want to invite you to join me in appreciating that new rotation smell. Isn't it great? This is my 100-year-old Pleasantview, which I've shown in a few videos now. And since I did my setting up video in my new rotation video, in August, I have actually finished the summer rounds. We are now fully on autumn, on fall for all the houses, except for a couple of outliers we'll go into at some other point. But everyone else that I'm actively playing is on fall. So it's taken me around 6 months, which is actually not very unusual because of the way I play. I don't, or haven't in the past, always focused completely on The Sims 2. I've done other things, other games. I remember when I was playing The Witcher 3 and Red Dead Redemption 2 in particular, The Sims didn't get much of a look in. And also I've had busy lifetimes as well. So moving house, getting married, those things take up time that you can't sim during for some reason. So 6 months seems pretty good. It is interesting though, now that I have this channel, I'm much more conscious of my Sims, so I think I'm definitely trying at the moment to squeeze in extra sessions when I can, so I can either get to fun parts of the rotation or get to bits that I can show you guys, so I can set up things to film. So it's changing things. On the other hand, I'm also playing my Build a City Challenge. I play all of that recorded, so not all my Sims time that I'm doing is going to Pleasantview anymore. So for the first time ever, it has a competing neighbourhood, which has been really fun. Either way, having this channel has definitely made me a lot more reflective about my saves. I said in my first video on Pleasantview that I don't have a spreadsheet, and that was true at the time. I didn't have a spreadsheet then, and for 8 years of playing this save, I've never had a spreadsheet. I just kept it all in my head as a fun game inside my head, as well as inside the game. But I have, as of right now, a spreadsheet set up and ready to go. It's mostly filled in. I'm going to continue to fill it in during this round. So as I go to each person's household, I'll note down things like aspiration, lifetime want, the things I haven't got in my head. I would put into the spreadsheet, so for the first time I can actually take some notations and see what's going on in Pleasantview. So I'm going to share that with you today as part of this video. So we're going to leave Pleasantview for a little bit and head over to the spreadsheet view. As a bit of an introduction, I found the struggle I've been having was the layout I was choosing. I was trying to copy kind of similar to Pleasant Sims spreadsheet layout, where it's in kind of blocks of family, a big focus on tracking the rotations. I don't really need that because my rotations are tracked by the icon. I know who's in fall, who's in summer, wherever they are. I can always access them and kind of see what's going on. So I don't need a spreadsheet to track that, and so it kind of put me off. There's a lot of moving Sims around. My Sims move around all the time. I've got, as it turns out, almost 200 individual Sims in my save. So they move around a lot, and kind of cutting and pasting them to different places just felt like a kind of a sticking point I wasn't able to get past even then. So what I decided to do instead was to set up basically a Pleasantview census, which is what I'm going to show you today. So I decided to focus just on the fields or the columns that I want to capture, what's interesting to me to know. And I found that it was kind of based on my day-to-day life where I work a lot in databases. What I wanted was demographics and to be able to see what's my count, what's the neighbourhood breakdown, what are the aspiration counts, what are the age brackets, how many straight Sims do I have, how many gay Sims, how many bi Sims. So that's what I'm going to show you now. I'll take you over to the spreadsheet and you can see my madness in beautiful Excel format. So this is my spreadsheet. It is not too wide. I don't have too many things going across the top. Focusing on names, which I can filter by. And I would say as well, this is really inspired by Annie Batts and her spreadsheet. I've kind of glimpsed it in her Pleasantview videos, and I realised that was what I wanted to be doing. I wanted to have this kind of information available to me to filter by, to sort by. Having those kind of options are things I wanted to track. It's no way in the same level of detail as Annie's is. Hers is masterful, but this has been really helpful for me in kind of having a setup that I like and that I can use. So I'm tracking names, locations, so where Sims are living, because I've started to spread out to Bluewater Village and also to downtown. I have quite a few Sims now. I've moved into the downtown section. I'm kind of craving that Uberhood feeling for some reason. So I moved a few of my Sims out there, adding new Sims in, because as I said, this is madness at this point, but also just playing my kind of long-standing Sims as they grow up. They don't all want to stay in the same suburb they grew up in. They might want to move out to the big city, and so I've been exploring that a bit more and really enjoying it. Tracking the ages, really easy, but that is really helpful for knowing what my population looks like. Aspiration 2, as you can see, it's not completely filled in. So that's something I'll go through and complete as I play, particularly this round. As I just kind of get into a household, I'll go in and say, well, actually, what is Paige's aspiration? I think it's family, but I'm not 100% sure. So we'll just kind of play as we go. So secondary aspiration, I'm also tracking, because I always lose track of that. I always forget what I've done once I've actually calculated it. Previously, I think I've mentioned this, but before I started using a calculator, I rolled a dice, and so it was totally random, which was quite fun and meant that grilled cheese was in play at all times. So I ended up with a few grilled cheese sims. But now I have a calculator, so it'll be helpful to see what that's doing, how that's kind of spreading out across the sims. I seem to get tons of popularity, secondary aspirations, but is that true? The spreadsheet's going to tell me. Lifetime want, again, I'm pretty bad at tracking this. I don't tend to play to their lifetime want very often, unless it's a sim where I think they're a knowledge sim, they want to be a doctor, I'm going to make that happen for them, then I'll play to that kind of ultimate goal. But very often they end up in different careers. I kind of make them take the first career that comes up, so they don't always get to have their dreams, but it is helpful to have that, again, to track. A career too, it's good to have it written down so I know what's going on. Then school is really to do with one of my gameplay rules. It's kind of which school they can attend. Only sims in the top social rank can attend private school, or if they have a parent who attended private school, their child can go as well. So that's helpful for me to keep track of that and see who's eligible for the private education. And as you can see by the degree column, I never keep track of degrees and who did what. But again, it's something I want to start using. I have all the information, and so I can start logging it into the spreadsheet. Original surname is going to be how I'll track marriages, sims that have married into different families, adoptions even, I'll keep those tracked in there. And then social rank, I've mentioned before, I have my sims divided into 3 categories. They are either rank 1, which is top level, rank 3 is the lowest level, and rank 2 is my middle class. And that really just kind of decides which services they can access, whether they can go to private school, and kind of who they can marry as well, because I like to have draconian rules in my gameplay for fun. Orientation, also helpful to keep track of. I particularly forget. I'm always just running the token tracker in ACR to figure out who's gay, who's bi. Is this an appropriate relationship for somebody? Can I pursue it? So having it written down and kind of tracked is going to be really helpful. Same with pregnancies. Pregnancies are now 48 hours, so lots of them aren't going to go over a gameplay session, but if they do, it's helpful to know these are my pregnant sims. These are when we're having more population coming in. In other, I'm tracking twins and triplets and adoptions. I put permaplast in there, but I don't think that's really useful to know. And then some notes, general notes for myself about the sims. Do I want to track if they're aliens? I don't know. I'm trying some things out, so we'll see as we go along. So to fill this out, I basically started with the sims that I knew at the very top, and then started over a few days. This wasn't kind of an instant thing. I just started to fill in all the names as I went through with the information I knew about them. So it's not complete. The ones you can see that are a little bit more filled out is because I've been into their household since, so I can kind of see what's going on. I'll kind of write that down and know a bit more. But all the names went in all the way down, down to the very bottom of the table, where I completely forgot an entire dreamer household for weeks, days. I just didn't have them listed in until I remembered that there is a final set of families in there as well. The newest additions to the town are the Travellers, Ramaswamis, and the Jacquet family. Because, and this is entirely because one of my sims wanted to marry a rich sim. I don't have any, so I decided that because Gilbert actually counts as rich, why not bring them in as well? I had to fix Denise. She was having a terrible time spinning around. Like, I don't even know what, but she was spinning. But I got her fixed, and so now she is a member of the town as well, and was instantly very, very popular, more so than Gilbert. She made tons of friends day one. So that's the kind of data entry side of it. This is where I'm filling in all the information. My plan is just when someone has a baby to kind of create a new row underneath. Where is it in here? Yep, there we go. Insert a new row, just fill it out underneath the parent, just so I can keep people grouped together, but not stress too much about moving them around. It's not going to be a very good way to do it. This also lets me track one of my favourite things this rotation, because there's just so many of them, is tracking my university cohorts. I currently have, I think, 13 sims, I think, in university, and it was helpful. I had to break them up into 2 households, so it just let me track who's going and kind of split them up into 2 separate dorms, which is going to be a delight. So next thing to look at is your tabs along the bottom. The cemetery tab is exactly the same layout as the main tab, but I'm just going to copy and paste any sims that die into here. So I have that for posterity. You know, I know what they were like, who they were. If I want to have a reference back to them, they'll be saved here, but only from now on. The cemetery is already pretty full, but new sims that die will go in here. Cameron was a very sad, he succumbed in the last day of the rotation to the cow plant, which was, so if you can see, I wrote it in here, he died in a mob hit. He had been the top of the criminal career, failed his chance card and got bumped back down to the bottom, went to prison because I kind of decided he'd been betrayed by the mob. I made a whole video about him in prison. Sadly, he has since died. I think my kind of canon for it is that his former colleague decided he was too dangerous to live. They thought maybe he turned on them in prison. So he was taken out, very sadly, did not make it into 4. Then we have the tab that I was most excited to set up because I'm a bit of a nerd, and that's my demographics tab. And this is where I'm counting from the main tab, the active tab. I'm counting all the different kinds of demographic information I want to look at. So at a glance, I can see how many elders I have, how many adults, young adults, so I can see I have 13 in university right now. The teens, which is looking like a bit of a population bomb just coming my way with 29 teens. That's probably fine. And all the way down to the babies as well. And the elders, I can kind of see who's maybe going to phase out fairly soon in my save. There's maybe 30 people going. Will I let them die though? That is the big question. I've struggled with that this past round. Also tracking who's living where, so I've got my different tabs to do that. And to achieve this, I'm using the COUNTIF function in Excel. So if you're not an Excel nerd, this is really handy. It just lets you specify what it's going to count based on just what you put in, as long as you give it a column to look at. So it's saying COUNTIF in the active tab, D column, it says elder. So anything that says elder, it will count. And that gives me 30 in total. Just saves me going through and manually counting if I ever want to know how many elders do I have. It's all done for me in this spreadsheet. And I also get my total population, which at the moment is a very spicy 185 Sims, which means, there's probably room for more. Who doesn't want tons more Sims? Every rotation, whenever people get out of university, there's always a bit of a baby boom. So probably not this rotation, actually, because they didn't really get on my last round of students. There was only really one couple to come from it. So maybe I'll have a bit of peace. I have a few tabs for rules, prison, finance, education. Just kind of codifying the things I do. Finance is really simple. There's not much in there at the moment. And then education too. And then I've also made myself a to-do tab. So when I'm doing rotation setup or just kind of going through the autumn, I've got things I can look at that I might want to add into the neighbourhood. People might want to move around. I think I've done most of these now, but I'll go through and mark them off. But it's, again, just a helpful way to keep track of things within my saves and keep my head from falling off sometimes. It's also quite helpful for video ideas. So things like I want to build a gay bar or club downtown because I have quite a few gay sims that just aren't meeting each other because of using the demographics. This isn't complete. Where is that? So here it is. This hasn't been fully noted out. I haven't completely put in all the orientation information, but even that is quite a big difference. I do have gay and bi townies, so I'm thinking of kind of a place where they can gather. Using the visitor controller is on my list of to-dos, and that could be a video. So it's helpful for that as well. So it's things I can kind of keep an eye on and think about my save in a more active way, which is very exciting. So I hope I haven't bored you to death thinking about spreadsheets and how I've set that up. I hope it was a bit interesting. So yeah, I always like the start of a rotation. I always like the feeling of who am I going to play, where am I going to go first. That's part of why I don't play strictly rotational, because I find with this amount of houses and households, it's really helpful to be able to just say, oh, I fancy playing a big family household, and I'll go to this Newton family, for example, or I want to play a small family or a single sim. I can just pick my families based on what I'm interested in playing that day. If I play a bit of this goth household with a single sim, I might then think, oh, I'm just craving a massive situation with tons of babies and a ridiculous household, and I'll go over to the goths. So I've got that option, and I don't tend to play, as I've said, I don't play full rotations in one go. I do in Haven Rock in a Build a City challenge, but for this I just prefer being able to sort of change around. It also gives me the freedom if there's a bit of a crossover. So if, for example, I'm playing with Walter Goth over here, and he meets a different sim, I can go to their side and I can play them for a bit and see how they feel about Walter. Do they want him to move in with them, for example? It just lets me have that freedom of playing the whole city kind of at the same time, and that's really enjoyable for me. What I've also been enjoying recently, and I'm going to continue to explore this rotation, is downtown, which I've never really looked at all that much. I've sent sims there to go to the clubs or to go to roller skating or ice bowling. But I've never really let people live here. I never realised they had houses and things that people could live in. I'm kind of taking these to be quite good starter homes, maybe kind of houses for people to start small families. But I don't want to change these houses. I want these to be houses that are maybe kind of council owned and run, so people can move in here as young families or single sims, but they can't do extensions or additions. They just get a cheap house they can live in. So that's kind of what I'm exploring at the moment in downtown. I've also added a load more apartments so I can have people living in different situations, and I've started to build up this cool little loop. I've called it Concrete Gardens, and I'm going to have a bit of a fun time in there with some smaller houses again, some nice little tiny houses, some apartments, just kind of building up a section to make it my own. And I'm planning some renovations potentially, at least making one club to kind of see what we have in the downtown, what I might use it for. So that's one of my plans for this rotation. So that's been a quick overview of my Pleasantview, where it is now, what the spreadsheet's looking like, and what my plans are for the near future. I'm definitely going to keep playing in this town. I'm looking forward to sharing some videos as well of the gameplay that I do, as well as carrying on with Haven Rock. But if there's a household you're interested in, or kind of something you'd like to see me play, please let me know. I am thinking about doing a live stream to celebrate my 1 year of uploading videos, which is mid-March-ish. So I'm thinking I'll just kind of get into Pleasantview on that day, play with some households, and kind of basically play the way I would play, but to share it with you guys, because I'm so incredibly grateful for everyone that's subscribed over the past year. All the comments I absolutely adore. Just being part of this community is so much fun, and it's been a real pleasure to change my gameplay for the better, kind of track it and have a bit more control, and also to get to know everyone. So I look forward to seeing you then, and in the comments down below let me know what you think, and I hope to see you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.